Hey people, in this series I want to explain and describe very important musical terms that are surrounded by a little bit of misconception or misunderstanding, and one very important example is polyrhythm. That's what we're going to talk about today. Many people think, when they think about or when they hear polyrhythms, immediately think about odd times. But I actually don't know why, because those are two separate ideas, separate concepts. Okay, they occur often in the same circumstance in more advanced, more progressive music, but they are two different animals. At first, let's get our nomenclature straight. We have a time signature that describes how many notes fit into one bar. I like the word measure because that's actually what it is. A bar just measures how much time has passed, how many notes have passed. So we can measure the progress of the music with the time signature. So in a 4/4 bar, of course, the one bar has enough space to accommodate 4 quarter notes or 8 eighth notes or 16 16th notes. You can have 3 eighth note time signatures or 7 quarter notes or whatever you like, whatever fits the music. Then we have something called the meter, and meter means how we group the notes within one measure or within one bar. Simple example, if you have a 6/8 bar, you can count them as 2 times 3 or 3 times 2. And that makes a big difference how you feel, how you count, how you play a 6/8 bar. That's the meter. And lastly, rhythm. The rhythm is just a pattern of notes and rests which you play in relation to the pulse, in relation to the meter. And then of course polyrhythm means that you have 2 or more individual rhythms played at the same time, and both or all of them can be counted and heard in their own right, because all of them are played in relation to the pulse. So the simplest polyrhythm might already be quarter notes and eighth notes at the same time. Quarter notes, eighth notes at the same time. Very simple, 2 different rhythms played at the same time. But usually there's more to it. There are 2 basic principles of polyrhythm. The first one is that everything is played on the same rhythmical grid, but you have just different groupings. So here we have the grid of eighth notes, and the snare was playing all the eighth notes, but the bass drum was playing only every second eighth note. And of course you can make this more difficult by, for example, playing 4 notes on the snare drum and 3 notes on the toms, so you have a 3 against 4 or 3 over 4 polyrhythm. Let me demonstrate that. The hi-hat will be playing the quarter notes, the snare drum the 16th notes as our grid, and then I will play the toms, just consecutive 16th notes, and I will play the accents, and then I will leave out the unaccented notes and play only the accents. And then after a while I will leave out the hi-hat, and you will hear that you might tend towards counting this rhythm. This is why we actually need to count. We need a rhythmic structure, and this is played by the hi-hat. So maybe you noticed that you would tend towards counting 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And so this is so important. When you practice and play polyrhythms, you need to count. Ideally, you hear a metronome, but at least count for yourself so you don't lose track of the pulse. This is why playing polyrhythms might not just improve your independence on the drum kit, but also your sense of timing, because polyrhythms really challenge your timing. Because polyrhythms have a very interesting effect. Because you have two rhythms in their own right, one may be dominant, you can actually consciously confuse your audience by putting them on the wrong track, by emphasizing the rhythm in 3 while still counting yourself. But you need to count yourself, you need to control the rhythm so you know where the 1 is still, because it still goes in the background. Sometimes you can even leave out the grid and only play the accents. I like to do that because then you only play one rhythm, but the other one is implicit because you played it a long time before, so it's still present in your head and in the heads of the audience. Let me give you an example. And now to the second option, that is not playing on the same rhythmical grid by using different note values. For example, just triplets, another topic that is cause for a lot of misunderstandings because many people get wrong what a triplet basically is. If you want to know more about that, please check out this video first. But if you play eighth notes and eighth note triplets, that is not a very complex polyrhythm, but now you have different note values. You are not on the same grid anymore. Let me demonstrate very simply. Eighth notes on the snare drum, hi-hat plays quarter notes again, and on the low tom I will play triplets, and I will change the volume so you can hear each rhythm individually and then how they sound together. This is pretty easy because you have this da 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 rhythm, because you can actually place both of them on a grid of 6. But if we come from a 16th note rhythm, then this is odd. The triplet cannot be placed on the same grid as the 16th notes. And of course you can make this much more complex. You can play 6 tuplets, 7 tuplets, and so on. And this is the other basic variant of the polyrhythm. So I hope I could make this principle clear to you. Polyrhythm means that there are two or more individual rhythms happening at the same time, and this can create a lot of tension. This can be a very interesting contrasting effect. Of course, you can, as always, you can make this much more difficult. But this is just the basic principle. I hope I could make that clear to you. If you want to suggest more terms and expressions I should explain in this series, please write them in the comments down below. I'll be seeing you in the next video next Thursday, and until then, take care and bye-bye.